I always wanted to do
And action.
Hey
that.
there.
This too.
Well, good morning. I am Liz McNeil, and I am a residential real estate planner and resource with Keller Williams Metropolitan, and also founder of the Houston Senior Living Series. I usually have a big banner that shows you the Houston Senior Living Series, but I'm missing that today because this is a smaller space. So I going to talk today about truth about downsizing, rightsizing, and simplifying. That's going to be our topic. And we do have a guest panelist and expert. We're going to bring Lacey in. That is me there. And again, that's what I do as my real job is real estate planning and resource. And most of my business is working with older adults as they make decisions about late in life moves. And that's why I started the Houston Senior Living Series. I've been doing this for 9 years, I think it is now, and it's bringing together expert panelists around the city in different settings to present information and have casual conversations about all the topics that are important. So we have a lot of different topics: the truth about caregiving and the truth about finances and wills, trusts, and probate. And I bring in expert panelists for all of those things, and then they come in and we have a conversation. So that's how the format is. It's very casual. It's always well received because everybody participates. And the way we have a conversation, it's not just a set presentation. So today, again, we're going to talk about the decluttering, downsizing, rightsizing. We're doing all of these things. But to tell you how I got started in working with seniors in real estate is this is the Seniors Real Estate Institute, and this is Dr. Nikki Buckaloo. This is who I learned what I know now about working with older adults, all from Nikki. And she has an undergraduate, master's, and then her PhD, all in working with older adults in life and what it's about. And so she took it upon herself to create this and start telling people what it's like to work with older adults. And so that's why that's my specialty. And then today I have with me Lacey DeBello. This is Lacey. Okay. And Lacey has as the owner of Edit Down Interior Services, and Lacey helps people organize, personal organizing, decluttering, staging. She does things like that with me. She helps me with that, but going in and helping people do sale prep, but also just organizing and helping people get to that point where they live a better life. So she's going to talk about that. And so we will, this is new for me too, look at this. Yes, here we are. So I'm going to ask her these questions, and Justin's going to have questions that come up, and you're welcome to interject, or you can do it at the end. It's whatever you think. As they come up, it's usually about what we're talking about, so you're welcome to do that. And then you're welcome to talk too. So this is the question I'm going to ask Lacey. Can you see Lacey? Is she?
Oh, do I need to get closer? Okay.
Wanted to make sure. So I'm going to ask her that question. What's the biggest misconception about downsizing and decluttering?
I think a lot of it is that it's overwhelming. Where do I start? What do I do? There's too much stuff. It's, they're by themselves now, and it can't be done, or it's going to have to wait and be done when it's like 911 urgent. I need to move out of the house. So oftentimes it just gets to be where it's too much all day. And we just had a situation happen where there was a older lady who was inside of her house and was basically taken out on a stretcher and could not come back home. And so then the daughter-in-law is left to get everything cleaned up, and she's overwhelmed. She has her own life, she has her own kids, and so it's like, where do we start? So there was a big sense of urgency. So I think, you can start at any time. You can start small, you can start in small areas of your house, and then, work your way up.
I think that's what it is. What I see is that people think, they look around and they think, oh, I can't do this, because they're looking at everything. And so that's the misconception. You can look at one small area, one small part, whatever it may be, you can look at it that way. I do have some little, we'll do these first. So this is some organizing that Lacey has
One
done.
of many.
Many times. But this is her.
Pantries are great.
Does anybody have a pantry that looks like this? I don't know how this shows up there on Facebook. Were people able to see this? Okay, good. So does anyone have that? Usually I do this in a room full of, there you go. So I have a large room full of people, and most of the hands go up. It's almost like put your hands up if you have a pantry, and put them down if it doesn't look like this. And everyone will be leaving it. So tell us about that.
So it's a lot of just, so this is a mother of 2 little ones. She does have 7 dogs. as well. And so but she's, they're organized for the most part, but they're just, you're running to the store, you're throwing it back in the pantry, you're not even checking to see, do I already have 10 ranch dressings? Things just start getting pushed in, expiration dates start to happen. So it's just, it's the editing process. And you can see there's no rhyme or reason. Things are just liquors up top, all grouped. You've just got stuff kind of wherever it's coming out of the bags from the grocery store and getting pushed in. You can barely see a little bit of like the condiments, but that too is quite the show. It's just things are just placed, pushed in, there's no rhyme. And then you're digging. You're having to get down and dig, and then she's realizing like half of this stuff, which you'll see on the next clip, is expired. It's expired, it's in boxes, so like editing through some of the boxes and the paperware, if you will, you can get stuff shrunken in quite a bit more and more contained. And so then when it's time to go to the grocery store, you're opening up the pantry and you're just taking inventory basically on what you're seeing, and not so much of like, oh my gosh, where am I? What do I need? So it helps. The order helps so much.
I think what it is when you open the pantry and it looks like we're going to show you.
Yeah.
There's no stress. When you look at this, you think,
Yes.
Where is that? You start thinking about it. It's anybody like me, and you have expired. Usually it's spices, something like that.
Yeah.
And I look, and I had a little thing of pumpkin spice, and I thought, I know I have that. This was back in the holidays.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, and it expired in December of 23.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. I bet it's still good.
I know. I did my aunt's pantry once, and she was like, "You asked me about all those, whatever it is, the spices that you're gonna get rid of, because some of those, they don't expire, they last." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" So like by the end of it, I still had half of what we had to go through. Expiration dates that she was like, "No, the time will last." I'm like, "Okay."
So I think everybody. This looks so familiar to so many people.
Mm-hmm.
It's all of us. It's not just you. And then it can look like that. So doesn't that look pretty?
And that was drastically reduced based on packaging, expiration dates, getting stuff grouped for her kids so they just have the snacks. But I mean, you could do that as well if you've got, a pudding or Jello or whatever. It's just grouping stuff. Cereals. Yeah, down here you can't quite see it, but this has more of like her baking, so all of her powdered sugar, stuff like that. But her flour and pancake mix, she grabs a lot because of the kids, so that was just more accessible. Lazy Susans are great inside of pantries too, because you can just spin them, get out what you need. And then of course we left all the liquor up top, but like her pastas, so it's grouping stuff, but for sure editing stuff out and just getting it to just a neater, cleaner. You can't see it either here, but all her paper towels are now in there and Rubbermaided. So when she needs those, it's a grab and go, and then her main inventory is like in the garage. So
I like Rubbermaid being a verb. Let's Rubbermaid.
Yeah, yes, that's the thing. Rubbermaid.
Something that I always bring up is that these are baskets that you can see through, so that's important, I know. But something that you always tell, and you've told me before, is that you don't have to go out and buy a lot of organizing. There's things that you have already that you can use for this purpose.
Especially in the pantry. And honestly, Rubbermaids, you can find the little ones at like the dollar store, and you can, and they're clear. And it just helps you too, where, oftentimes in helping seniors and some of the senior living facilities, everything's so high. It's either high or they're not quite at the place where there's drawers that are getting pulled out. You'll see that in some of the, newer models of homes, though, instead of having cabinets, there's drawers where you can pull them out, which is great. But in some of these, facilities where there's senior living, we'll put stuff in Rubbermaid so we can pull them out. So if it's a cabinet at the bottom of like the sink or what have you, and that's where she's got all of her pots and pans, or she's got her baking stuff, we'll put it inside of a Rubbermaid without a lid, and just so it allows her to kind of pull out, because it gets heavy. It's heavy, it's hard to reach stuff, it's hard to grab stuff, but to Liz's point, sometimes it's just getting creative with what you already have inside of your house and making it work, especially where nobody's really going to see your pantry. It's just to make it easy for you and keep it organized.
And it's calming. Like I said, it's to be able to open and see that and not see all that noise, that visual debris.
Yes. And things are getting used.
Yeah. How about this closet? Does that look familiar to anybody? Yeah.
And to this sweet little lady's defense, so they had just moved in and things just got put in the closet, and she was like, okay, now I need help. But you can see where there's, she had wire hangers at the top over there. There's plastic hangers. There's the felt hangers. shoe bags, purses. I mean, it's the closet somewhat threw up inside of itself.
I think all of us have been in this experience at some time, even if you're older. And now, because of my new world of being such a minimalist, I don't have a closet that looks like this, but I can't say that I never did. I have had my closet look like this at some point in time, and it is so distressing when you walk in and look at that and just, where do I find
Well, yeah, no, you can see everything's kind of, mashed in together. So you've got dresses mixed in with short sleeves, mixed in with sweaters, skirts. So it's like when you walk in, like, where do you even go to start to find just your outfit to put it together? So it's just helpful, especially with working with, just women in general, getting, like, you'll see on the next slide, a lot of their shirts are grouped together, their long sleeves, their dresses, and their pants. So it's orderly. And a lot of times too, you'll see in homes, there's all this negative space. I realize that doesn't suit everyone in their age. So oftentimes if it's too high up there, we'll come down lower. These are shoes, so it's more of like her flip-flops, her everyday wear shoes, and then up top is just like her boots, dressier shoes for men as well. So it's really also too, when I help people with their closets, it's really customizing it to what helps you and what suits you best. If you've got a bad back or, your arms or whatever, it's hard to reach, we'll resituate things so it's just accessible and orderly. So,
y'all have any questions about this? Anything at all? No? Everybody's good? Okay, so I always include these. So I've got these antiques and things one generation buys, the next generation gets rid of, and the following generation buys again. So the generation today doesn't want anything. Do y'all notice that? You try to give someone else in another generation, one of your allies, whoever it is, if it's family or friend or neighbor or whoever it is, and you say, would you like to have this? And what do they say? No, I don't want that. I asked our daughter-in-law when we downsize, because I do this in my world. This is what I do. I help people do this. I wanted to do it myself. So I said to my husband in 2018, we need to sell our house and completely minimize and see what it's like to do that, to get rid of everything and move to a different world and see, as an older person, what is it like. And so we did that. And after several years of talking, several months of talking about it, my husband finally said yes. But I said to our daughter-in-law, would you like to have our china and crystal? It's Winsong Lenox china from 1978, place setting of 12. Would you like to have that? And she said, that would be a hard no. I don't use my own china. I don't want yours. So people just generation today, they're not interested in those things. They're not interested in the kind of furniture we may have had. They're not interested in a lot of the things that we have, and we ask them and they say no.
But I'm still looking for my fishing pole. I don't know
That's right. There's always somebody who's going to say, but what happened to that? So what are some specific questions to ask when you're deciding what to keep and what to let go of?
So I think for me, and where I've started with a lot of, well, especially the ladies, is, what are the things that really mean the most to you, that hold the most value? Or is there something that, it was your mother's, it was your grandmother's, it was your sister's, and you just definitely want to, keep that close to you, then keep that by all means. And then the things that you're like, I don't really know if that brings me much joy or happiness, or I'm not getting anything from that, then that's, I think, where you have to start the process of, starting to let stuff go or donate it or see who maybe else wants it. But it's the, the pieces within your house, if they've got some type of special meaning to them, those are the things that you probably have highlighted already. They're sitting on a dresser, they're sitting on a buffet table, they're in your living room where they're in eye of sight. But if it's stuff that's just boxed up and it's put away, is it really bringing you much joy? Could it already start to go to somebody else, as Liz is saying? Could it go to your kids? Could it go to your brother? And not that you have to start getting rid of everything inside of your house, but I just think you have to really start the process. That's the biggest eye opener for me. I think in starting to do stuff with Liz and helping seniors in particular go through their things, is like, it could just be, every day you don't know what's going to happen the next day, and then you've got all this stuff in your house and somebody's going to have to go through it. So it's nice to just start the process of, keeping the things that really mean a lot to you, and maybe slowly starting to edit what you don't necessarily need in your space.
And something that I see with people when we are talking about that, about making a move or whatever it is, if they're going through this process, someone will say, what about this? What about this right here? And they will say, well, that costs X number of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't really say what it meant to them. That's just saying how much it cost. And then you have to ask, and could you sell it for that today? Most likely the answer would be no. If I took that place setting of 12 china that I said, okay, I'll just sell it. Look how old it is. It's beautiful. We have the whole place setting of 12. I'll sell it. I probably would be able to sell it to someone for $150. Maybe, if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe
Yes.
maybe $100. Or I could take it and donate it and let somebody else use it. I could do that too. A lot of times I will hear from people, oh, but what's the one that's online where you
Facebook Marketplace.
replace you can replace your china and crystal. There's a website that they've
I
been
just
around
don't
forever.
think anybody entertains in that fashion any longer.
Exactly. People
Just having
don't.
dinner parties.
Exactly.
For a dozen.
Yeah,
Everybody's-
That they don't have catered.
Yes,
True.
exactly. So it's just a different world.
Mhm.
So what do you do with it? And people will say, well, there's that replacements.com, I think is what it's called. And they're always looking for these items. Well, I would have to take it, I would have to box it up, and I would have to be the one that ships it to them, which is going to cost me more than they're going to pay me for it. You know, so I don't want to do that. I could donate it, and that would be better. Or I could use it every day.
Yeah, true.
You know, so, and that's what I do. I use it every day because I just think, oh my gosh, this just feels so good to look at these. And then people will say, does it have anything around the edges? And I say, yes, it's got platinum all around each plate, around the cups. Well, you can't put it in the dishwasher.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then I say, but, so what if I do? What happens if 5 years from now, I've got 2 plates and the platinum has started to come off from the dishwasher? That's okay. It's not a problem. I'll just use the next 2.
Yeah.
That's an idea.
So I think that what I see, as I said, people valuing things for the wrong reason and thinking about the financial value of it, and could it be sold, and could you actually have some kind of financial gain from it, or get something back. This is very funny. You know, how to declutter. Look at all those books she's got. How to declutter, simplify, joy of less. She got all those books cluttered around her. Anybody has seen this book? Y'all have all
Yes.
seen it.
Yes.
You've read it. You have it.
Yes.
You probably can check it out here at this library. You probably can. This one that I bought when I first got into this world of what I do now and started this seminar series, I bought this one, and it says 6 million copies sold. But now, all these years later, if you buy one of these, it'll say 9 million copies sold. So it's incredible the amount of money people spend on books and things like this to help them declutter and get started. And I think that's incredible because a lot of people will buy the book and then put it away and not really use it. And even if you take one thing out of here, and you don't have to do everything that Marie Kondo says. Let's see, it's
Which is
just
great.
I know, but it's the KonMari method. You don't have to, you do everything on the KonMari method. But if you do one thing, you're going to be better and not do that. Anybody have a lot of books you don't know what to do with? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Plenty of books, and what do you do with them? We
They
think we
sit on my shelf mostly.
yeah, and we think, well, maybe I could donate them. Maybe I could
Well,
I could declutter.
occasionally I'll get inspired to go read one of them.
Oh, that's good. That's nice to start reading one. That's
Yeah,
great.
it's really lovely to have, you know.
Yeah, that's it, because you might think I'll donate them, but you could donate them to the Friends of the Library, right? And that what you can do that, and they're always willing to take those. You could think, well, maybe I'll sell them and I'll take them to Half Price Books, and you know what that takes to do that is a lot. It's a lot of steps involved in that process, so that's kind of challenging. So what else could you do with them but have them sit there, and then if it becomes overwhelming, then you do have to make some decisions about where you might donate them. So what are some tools, strategies, and systems that make it more manageable?
So typically, I mean, the way, and feel free to add too, normally where I start with helping people get stuff organized is we'll start grouping stuff, because it's like, where do I start? They're just overwhelmed. There's no place to start. So typically what we'll do is we'll start going through and just editing and like creating drop spots within their house. So like if you can get a Goodwill box or a box that you want to, just call donations, then you can slowly start taking things and dropping them into those boxes. Like, okay, I'm just gonna start wherever I'm in my closet. I know I don't need that anymore. I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna put it inside the box. And slowly that box will start to fill, and then you can take it and you can drop it off at Goodwill. Or is there something that maybe you're comfortable doing consignment? Do you want to take your, items that you're finding and maybe consign them, and that starts to go into a bucket? Or is there stuff for your friends that you want to, maybe start to group there? So I feel like it's, you've got to be able to start somewhere within your house and creating spaces where it's like, okay, that thing's full. I can take that now and I can donate this, that to somebody. I don't know what other.
That's what I always talk about, is just, even if it's so overwhelming, because I meet so many people who are much older, that are really live alone, and it could start to become a situation where they need some assistance, and they know that's happening, and so they start to look around, make decisions. What should I do? And they think, I want to do that, whatever that is. I want to do that and be safe, and I want to do this over here. I'm going to make a change. But then they walk in and they open the door and they look around and they say, oh, I can't do this. How do I do this when my house looks like that closet or something like that? And so we always talk about start with just one thing. And I have a whole list that we'll see up here, and I'll give you all those. But a list of a place to just start. Just start with one small place. Anybody have junk drawers? A junk drawer, yes. The National Association.
Those are hard.
I know.
They become the junk drawer because of
It's something I might need. We'll talk about that too.
Something
But the National Association of Realtors keeps statistics on everything, and they show that there are 2.5 junk drawers. That's the average number of junk drawers in America, in homes. So it's not just one, it's not just two.
Yeah.
Some people have even more to make that average 2.5. So.
Yeah. And I think sometimes too, it does help. We've seen the benefits of me going in and helping people within their spaces. And maybe it's not the whole house, maybe it's just a bedroom, maybe it's just a closet, maybe it's just a pantry. So I think sometimes too, you're inspired by somebody coming in and saying, let's just start. And it's like, okay, well now I can take it from here. Not me, but the homeowner.
Yeah. And
so
I do have a client who has started doing this. She has two friends, and they're older, making these decisions, and they've started where every Friday they go to each other's house. So they go to one house this Friday, and then two of them sit there while the the owner of the house, starts bringing things out, saying, what about this? What should I do with this? And then they will work together as kind of a team to decide what they're going to do with things. It does help. It helps to have somebody, that you're talking to, and somebody's visiting with you, and you can make it kind of fun.
You can make it fun. And two, if you've got good friends, sometimes there's tough friends who will tell you like, oh, that just needs to go, and so then you're like, okay, well maybe it does need to go, and then there's some that are like, okay, well that's nice, you should keep it. So just having, difference of opinions, obviously at the end of the day, it's totally up to you, but it is fun, as Liz says, and if your girlfriends come over, family comes over, it gives you time to hang, and then also too, just to start the process of just going through things. And you might find they want some of the stuff you have. And so they're leaving with gifts.
Exactly, they are.
Great.
And I had a client several years ago who, she was old. She had grandchildren and then great-grandchildren that were going to college. I mean, she lived a very full life. And she was going to make that move, and she would ask everyone, is there anything you want? Is there anything I can give you? And all of her family would say, oh no, again, it's that generation. No, we don't want any of that. No, thank you. And so then she called them all together and got everybody in for a nice lunch in an afternoon, on Sunday afternoon, invited them all in, and she said, does anybody want this, whatever it is? Does anybody want this? No, no, no. And then she said, your grandfather and I bought this in Spain in 1972, and he loved it so much, and we brought it back, we wrapped it, and she said all these things about where it came from, and then it was like, oh, I want that, because then it meant something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're just looking at it like it's just a cup, or the dishes, or whatever it may be. And so that's a nice way to do it, to ask people and tell them why it was important to you and why you're giving it away now. So I think that there are a lot of different strategies you can do. But you'll hear me say all along, it's just start. And Lacey has touched on, if you don't do it, then someone else will. And so that's what happens so often, is that we don't do anything, and what we would want to happen to some of our things, our possessions, the person who does it may not be doing what we would wish. So that's why we say just start now, and then as we start to grow older, things start to it gets smaller and smaller what has to be done too once we're not here anymore. And you'll hear me say, if all of these seminars, any of them that you come to, you're going to hear me say, it's something's going to happen to all of us. Statistics prove none of us get out of this life alive.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen.
Yeah.
We just don't know if it's going to be tomorrow or if it's going to be 20 years from now, but something will happen. And as we do things now, we're in control. We still get to control what happens to it. But when something happens to us, then we're not so much in control anymore. Now, some people may not care about that. So I know someone who changed her will. She was 89 years old. She changed her will, cut out everybody, went to the lawyer, brought in the niece and said, okay, you're going with me to the lawyer. I'm changing everything. And the niece said, what's going to happen? Are you going to tell them, your brother and his children? Are you going to tell them that you've done this? And she said, no, that's your problem. I'll be gone. I don't care. So some people don't care what happens to things, and it's all a choice. But right now we still have the choice. I know. Okay, the kids have grown up and left home, and now it's your turn. So sometimes we think that, but we can't get rid of our companions or anything like. Well, we may be able to, but I always have a lot of these just to give us a little laugh, because this can be a heavy conversation. Anything that I talk about in my seminars, like when I talk about living and dying and leaving a legacy, those are kind of, people might think that's kind of heavy, and I like to have some levity, but I don't think any of it's heavy if we look at it the right way, but I just want to have truth and answers. So how about important documents and the heirlooms? I've already kind of talked about the heirlooms. It's just really about the documents. If anybody's got documents you don't know what to do with, I actually have a client who has tax returns from 1986. Literally, she has them in a from 1986. She's got every tax return from that year. So
Starting to scale that down.
she's thinking about it. She hasn't done it yet.
Rubbermaid.
Yeah. So what about some documents?
Yeah,
What timeline would you recommend?
Well, for the IRS, you know what they say. They say 7 years, but I mean, I have an attorney who will tell people when I have attorneys on the panel.
86 seems a little over the top, but
It's definitely over the top. And she did say the last time when I was out in Sugar Land earlier, and she said, well, I have started, and so I'm actually working on it. So it just depends. But when I have an attorney on the panel and we talk about this, and the attorney will say, oh, I don't think you ought to get rid of anything for 20 years. So I think it just depends on what the documents are. And whether you think that they'd be needed. But if you've got a big stack or a big file drawer full of those documents, whatever they may be, I'd start to look through that and say, do I need these? Yeah. Plus, everything we can do today is electronic. We can store things in such a more efficient manner than we could.
Yeah, we were even talking about that last seminar, like photos. A lot of people were talking about family photos that they had. And what do we do with all those? And I didn't write it down, but there was a place where, or you had told me, I think, or said
there is a place
in Houston where you can just donate your
old photos. But you might think, these mean something, but if they don't mean anything, you don't even know. How many people have photos that you don't even know who the people are because the photos came from you?
Everybody does.
Yeah. Exactly. We've all got those. So what do you do? It doesn't even have a name written on the back.
What's the name of the place?
Oh gosh, darn it.
I'm sorry, I know.
It's an art store, and it's over on the east
And
side.
she said you could just put the pictures, like there's pictures everywhere.
You can go. There's a whole room full of boxes of sepia tone photos. They're all black and white. Some of them from 1876 or.
Oh my gosh.
And it's really awesome. But I'll have to look that, and I will get that for you before we finish up and before I leave. I'll get it because there are different places.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen that a lot in some of the houses that I've been in, and there's they've got just photos for days, and they're either in a dresser or they're in an old box or what have you, and so it's like well, what do we do with that? As Trish was one, who do I give all these to? And then pictures just slowly rotate through the family, and they've come back to her, and now she's had to downsize from a house to an apartment, and so she's like, I just can't take all these with me. So it's either, do they go back to the family, or in cases like this, what Liz was suggesting is, at least there's a place they can be donated, and you'll see them where people, I guess they still do it, but in restaurants sometimes you'll see old photography, and it's like, I don't know who that is, but it's a great picture.
Or they can use them for art projects. That's what they use them for, things like that. So there are places to donate those. But then your family photos that do mean something, what do you do with those? And we always talk about that there are companies that you can have come in and they will digitize all of your photos if it's not digitized yet. Because we've been in the digital world for several years, but these are going back to our parents' photos and things like that, or maybe us when we were children. And so what do you do with those? And you can digitize them, and then you can give them to anybody in the family. Even if you've got a family member who lives in Thailand, you can send them those photos, and that's nice, being able to share them, with that many people.
And then there's that copy.
Otherwise, if they're just sitting there, they're not really being shared or seen by people.
Yeah,
Can I ask you something?
Please.
Do you recommend paper shredders?
Oh, for
Documents?
important documents?
For stuff that you really don't need anymore. You feel like
I feel like that's a good thing to do. If you have a shredder and you can do that, and then you can take all that paper and go to recycling or put it out for recycling, whatever you want to do with it.
Yeah.
And then there are many different organizations, places that you can go, and they'll have a Saturday and they'll bring in a big shredding truck.
Yes.
And you can go to those. You'll see those around town. There are different places. And Office Depot will shred for you. You can take it to them, and they charge, I think it's $1 a pound or 50 cents a pound. I don't know the exact cost, but it's minimal. And they will you take it in, and then you tell them, and then they've got a shredder there. You see it just all goes in there, gets shredded, and you're done with it. And so, and then you pay them, like I say, a minimal fee if you think about it. They may have, someone told me recently that they have some limitations on how much you can bring at one time. I don't think you could come in with, 85 pounds of that. It's boxes, and then, so however many it is. Most of us don't have 85 pounds, but some people do.
Yeah.
So that's a good source.
A good question too, because that was Miss Trish, this one lady I helped. She had quite a bit of stuff that needed to get shredded, and she put it in the car, and there was a drop spot you could go to, and they would shred for
You can do that, some of them.
Yeah.
And then again, some people do that, and I've done that with having a truck, come and be somewhere for 4 hours, and a lot of times neighborhoods will do that. There'll be an HOA that will do that for the neighborhood, and they'll bring out a shredding truck and have, ice cream cones and bring your shredding.
Shred party.
Shred party. Exactly. So there are definitely options for that. But I like to shred things. Not that I think anybody's going to even get it. It's just that once I do it, I don't have to think about it anymore. So I do like having a shredder, but it's just it's a very small, workable.
Yes, I have one too. It's
Yeah,
helpful.
so I think that's good.
You just have to stay on top of it.
Yes. Do you have any questions that you want to ask us now, or as we're going on? You want to take a moment and have some questions, or no?
No questions so far online, but if
Okay.
they do post, I'll let you know.
You'll let us know. Okay,
And
good.
just a side note, if you do need to digitize any documents or photos, Houston Public Library at our TechLink locations, we do offer free digitization.
Oh,
that's great.
You are kidding. What a great, oh my gosh, that's a great resource. I did not know
Which
that.
means you can share your 1986 tax
That's
records with
right.
folks in the Philippines.
Exactly. Yes, you can share them, yes, your tax returns. But that's great. So you just take them in, and then,
You do have to take a small, an online course to learn how to use the device, and it is self-scanning, so you don't hand it off to somebody. But yeah, they're called Scanix Book Scan Centers, and they're at our 4 TechLink locations, Scenic Woods, A-Leaf, Dixon, and Walker Library. And you can scan in as much as you need, anything up to 11.5 by 17-inch documents. for
wow,
photos.
that is a great resource. Oh, everyone needs to know about that. I will be adding that to my my resource page so that everyone will know, because that's a great resource, and there's no cost to that.
No cost.
That's incredible. Okay, any questions about heirlooms or anything else? Any other ones? Y'all are good? Okay, this is a great one too. Paying for a DNA test. We'll see if I find better relatives. Have any of y'all done DNA tests? You're on Ancestry or anything? You've done that, and you have these people pop up, and you always think, I wonder if that's a nice person. Maybe I'd like to know that person. It's my third cousin once removed or something, but I might like to know that person. So I do think that. So, any advice on family members wanting to assist us?
Yeah, so sometimes that can be a good thing. I think it all depends on your relationship, because I had a lady one time, I worked for everybody in the family, and she reached out and said, I'll pay you to go help my mother because it's just too difficult. She's resistant, she's, being hard-headed or stubborn about what she wants to keep, what she wants to get rid of. But I do think that it's helpful, especially if, if there's things that they're interested in and they're on the same page as you and they're wanting to see a difference, then you have to be open-minded to that, because the whole goal is to slowly start to edit stuff out and how can we get more organized. But if you headbutt, well, then maybe it's not such a great idea if family,
I think it's tough for families. It can be.
hard.
It can be tough.
Yeah.
But sometimes what happens, maybe anybody will have experienced this, is that you will say to your allies, whoever it may be, that's what I say about people that support you and you support, that's allies, because a lot of us don't have children, so it may not be your children, but it's your allies. If it's a niece or a nephew or the neighbor or whoever it is, they'll say, do you want this item? And they'll say, oh yes, I would like that. And then when can you come get it? Well, it's going to be a while. And so you know, that's really tough. And if you do have children and you have in the attic or wherever your storage is, all of their things from elementary school and middle school and high school, you know that feeling. And do you still have it? You do? Or did you give it to them?
As much as I could give away, I did.
But there are things like report cards or something like that you might have. Awards.
Photos is the
the
big
photos.
thing, yeah.
Well, that's it. And we'd say, come and get these, and then they don't. And that's stressful for us because we want to get rid of it. We're ready, but then it sits there waiting for someone to come and get it.
Yeah,
So-
and our dad did I guess a service because he threw all our stuff away.
Oh, good for him.
That was amazing.
I kind of like that idea. I mean, you know how I am. I throw away so much that it's, you know,
Sorry you
sometimes
didn't come
it's too
get
much.
this, but it's gone now.
Exactly. You know, that's true. And I have some clients who were getting ready to move themselves. They were going to sell their home and move. And their daughter and son-in-law were moving to Phoenix. And so they went over and they were helping the daughter get everything staged for the movers to come and move the whole family, 3 kids, to Phoenix. And when they did that and they saw all that stuff in the garage, they sneakily went home, and they've been asking her to come get all their stuff for months. They'd asked her to come and get her things, and they went and got all those boxes, and they came to her house because they were helping, and they stuck them in the middle of all those boxes. So when the movers came, the movers just loaded them onto the moving truck. So 2 weeks later, they got a call that said, "Mom, what is all this stuff?" And she said, "I told you that you needed to come get it." And she said, "But how did you do this?" Well, we kind of stealthily went in and inserted those boxes in. So sometimes we just have people
Some
who
kind of
don't.
administrator, I'm sure that's what.
Exactly. That's exactly right. I said that when we made our move. I said that to our son. My husband was a amateur, I guess, carpenter, liked to build things, and he built this amazing piece of furniture. And it was so beautiful. And when we got ready to move, it was 25 years old, and I was not going to take that furniture with us. We didn't have a place because we were downsizing. So I said to our son, "Do you want that bed that Pop made?" And he said, "Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I want that. Yes. Pop made that for your birthday. What are you doing?" Well, it doesn't go. It's not going to go with us. So, do you want it? And yes, I want that. Well, when can you come get it? Is there a place you could store it? And
I've had that response.
exactly. So I said, no, you've got 2 weeks. If you can't do it, then I'll have to make arrangements. Well, I guess I just won't be able to get it. I said, no, I guess not. So then, when we were moving and the movers were there, I asked the movers, would anyone like this bed? And they said, oh, of course. They were very happy to take the bed. It was a beautiful bed. It really was beautiful. So anyway, so that's how we got rid of it. And our son, I don't think he holds it against me today, but anyway, I think that's the thing we have to remember is that we need to set our parameters because we're the ones making the decision and we're the ones who are stressed and have too much around us. So I think it's good for us to make our decisions while we can, and that's the beauty of that. Just in case. This one I didn't license this one, so you can still see it says cartoon stock on there. But this is a great one. I bought a new can opener, but let's save the old one in case we ever have a need for the broken can opener. Anybody
multiples of everything.
anybody have those just in case? What's really funny is you see people with like 3 pair of glasses. Well, you know, just in case these break, I've got these. And
Came from my dad.
yeah, that's right.
Don't throw that out, we could use that.
Yes.
We can still use it. So that's the question is, are there a lot of things that we keep just in case? That happens most with clothes, right?
Yeah, clothes, a scissor. I see a lot of scissors, Post-its. There's one lady who had so many pairs of scissors. I was like, gosh, another pair. A lot of scissors.
What do you do with scissors?
I don't know. She's had a lot of scissors, a lot of Post-its, can opener, things in the kitchen, a lot of kitchen extras. And I'm like,
Appliances, and they might think,
and I'm like,
you know.
you just get to a point where like you're not using all of those, and it's funny as you do start to edit, stuff out. and you get to this more, not that we're trying to make you minimal by any means, but just what do you really need in life? You know, my brother's old neighbor, nice man, he was like, you know, in life, all you really need is just a bed, a couch, a toilet, and, you know, a breakfast table, and that's it. And I'm like, well, maybe some art too, you know, so.
Something that makes you comfortable.
Joe, yeah.
I think that's, all right, what I want to point out is, with the name of your, you know, company, but I think that we all think, oh, I have to get rid of this, and that term kind of makes us anxious. I have to get rid of this stuff. I need to give it away. I need to do this. But if you look at it from that edit standpoint, I'm really just editing out the things that don't make my life comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm going to edit. I'm not going to get rid of, or I will, but I'm going to edit and do something different with it. And I think that makes people feel better. You don't need 2 can openers. You don't need 2 toasters or 2, whatever it is that you have. You don't need 2 of those or 3 of those.
There's just so much extra stuff. And I think too, you know, not to take it to a more, you know, emotional level, but I just feel like there's so much noise and chatter in the world, and we're constantly going and stuff's coming at us, and then you get back home and it should kind of be this place of peace, you know, where you're not, you know, also bombarded within your house too with so much extra stuff and
that visual noise.
Yes, right. It's just, it's too much. And when you start the process of slowly starting to edit, like it does feel really good when you get back inside of your house and it's like, okay, I just, you know, have the things that mean the most to me and bring me joy, and it's clean. Everything's kind of in its place, and what is it? What do they say? Everything's in its place. Every place has its thing or something like that. So it's true.
Those old people saying that. I should know, but I don't.
Please. So it's I don't know. I think sometimes there's just it's easy to kind of get buried in the swamps of all your stuff, and if you can just like really start with just one place and start editing things slowly but surely, you'll get there. And it does feel really good, and it's just nice. And it's nice too, if God forbid something should happen, somebody else. Or when something happens, yes, it's, you know, somebody else isn't coming in there and just, you know, maybe just literally having to get rid of all your things because it's like, well, I don't know what else to do, and it's sad.
Yeah.
Because there is great stuff. I mean, there's things that, there was a lady one time that I helped, and she had moved, and then she moved into another house, and I said, you know, before I go start to try to find you some art to hang on the walls, do you have anything that's like a value to you that we could maybe frame, or things that were your grandfather's? So her great-great-grandfather had these old drawings that he did, and they were of like the airplanes and kind of more military. I think he was in the military, and so we got a lot of those and just got them cut and went to like Hobby Lobby and got her pre-made frames and inserted those pictures, and that became the art in her hall. And she's like, those have been in a binder for forever. And so it was just,
I think that's nice to bring things out too, that you might want to do.
And she loved them, and they were something that, you know, was a real art that her great-grandfather had drawn, and, you know, it had meaning more than just, you know, stuff. So
Just stuff.
and that brings
we have
her joy.
so much
She loves it.
stuff, and it's kind of an
Yes.
epidemic. So does anybody have a storage unit that you keep things stored in? No. Okay. Yes. Okay. Somebody does. Somebody in this room does.
Yeah.
Thank you for being
And if
honest.
not, you'll know somebody. Yeah.
How long have you had the storage unit?
It's my spouse's.
Oh,
It's
blame it on
probably over 5 years.
Oh, wow.
so just one. Is it a 10 by 10?
Something to that extent.
Okay. So we're looking at like $150 a month. Not to put you on the spot, but
Probably.
so $150 a month times 12 times
That's
5.
Climate control, even more.
Oh my goodness! I just think about that, and it's
Well, your brother is much worse than that.
he is. My brother's had 2 for 12 years.
Oh, God.
So yes, and every time he comes to town, I say, "Give me
He
the
doesn't
keys."
live here.
He lives in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and so I say to him, "Give me the keys, and I will take care of this for you because you could have bought everything that's in there. You could have bought it 5 times over by what you've spent." It is an epidemic in America. If you look at storage units, it's like every corner you turn. And
Yes.
there's, oh my gosh, there's one,
They're
and
keeping
there's
up
one,
with the startups.
and there's one, and they're brand new, and it is in the top 10 fastest growing industries in the United States.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that's how much people have. And people take their stuff and they go and put it in there and they close it up, and then it just gets sucked out of their bank account, or it's charged to a
I
credit
guess
card
it did.
every month.
Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah.
So sad. And it's really sad when you
We
drive.
had a storage unit, probably 18 months or more.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's in 18 months is
So, you know, I stored $500 worth of tools in a storage unit for $1,800.
yes, exactly. That's what happens. Now, when we've moved, I believe in that. We've gotten a storage unit. We'll have it for 2 months because that way we can pack have things that I don't want to have the movers to have to deal with, and we pack it and then take it over on Thursday, and then on Saturday maybe take one other thing, and then we go get those things once we've moved and move them into our new space. It's just something that we've done, but we never have had one for longer than 2 months. And that's what they're good for. But this, when people have them for months and years, and what's in there, how often do y'all pay a visit to it?
I'd say it was last year.
Okay.
The thought was that because the garage is too small, Christmas decorations, there's nowhere to put them, and that's something needed every year, so it goes to the storage. And then, of course, my spouse's mobility issues. I'm gonna get to that eventually. The garage remains a mess. You can't get a car in there. My thought is, let's just clear it out, throw stuff out, donate it. We might need that again.
And is that just in case?
Yeah.
That just in case.
Yes.
You know, that's another thing, is that 53% of the houses in the United States that have a 2-car garage, they can only get 1 car in there. 53% of the houses in the United States. So it is an epidemic of stuff. We are surrounded by stuff, and because I've become this way, like I said, I'm not saying that I lived this way when I was 30 or 40 or 50, but I became such a person who likes to just not see it, because it does make me feel, I don't like seeing things.
Yeah.
So it's just something, but it is an epidemic in our country, so.
And we still have tubs of things, I mean, in closets and.
Well, we have some papers in one closet, and I'm not going to debate this now.
A Rubbermaid here or there.
A Rubbermaid, yeah, we've Rubbermaided some things. Yes, we have. So this is all the funny things. Another one. Decided to get rid of some stuff I haven't needed for a while. So ha ha, that one's kind of cute. So this is the important one, I think, and we've really touched on it. But just to get started, what do we do?
Oh, yes. So, I mean, normally, you know, you, like what I was saying earlier, it is good to start in one place and just get a box and start adding things to it. You know, if it's just called a Goodwill box or Salvation Army box or wherever you want to donate to. And just little by little, start putting things into that box, whether it's a kitchen cabinet, it's a bathroom cabinet, it's a drawer, it's maybe a small section of your closet. Maybe you just start with your shoes. You could start with shoes.
Or coats.
Or
you know, just a
coats.
certain certain type of clothing
Yeah.
is coats. How many people have more than however many coats you need in Houston? You know, people, when I ask these questions, people will say, oh, I have 6 coats. What do you do with 6 coats in Houston? I don't know, but
Yeah, it's a lot.
Wear them all.
you wear them all. That's
The
right.
day it snowed, you're like changing
You
out.
wear them all 6. You could, but
Yeah.
if you're wearing all 6, then great, that's fine. The things that we talk about are the people who have 6 coats, but they really only wear 1.
Yeah.
And the others are just there. My sister-in-law passed away several years ago, 2016, and all the family had to go in and work in her closet in her house, and something they found in there were numerous clothes, pieces of clothing that still had tags on them.
Oh, wow.
And some of them were the same clothes. It was the same shirt or the same.
She loved it so much. She bought
She bought 2, and then she never, took the tags off and wore them. So there are a lot of things like that. Like you can edit down those things.
Yes.
So,
especially in the kitchen and the closets.
and that even if you just start with that junk drawer.
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes a car is a place to start too. Sometimes people have kind of clutter in their cars, and you might just start there. Just start anywhere.
Makeup drawers too, for all the ladies. The makeup drawers, like sometimes there's just lipsticks that have been there forever, and it's like, I don't know if that's so good to keep if it's been there that long, So it is. It's just finding one place that you're comfortable with, that you feel you can make decisions on to let go of. Something big is like the china and all that crystal stuff. Maybe wait on that for a minute and start smaller where it's doable, and okay, I can definitely go through it. Or books. Are there books that you maybe need to get rid of? Or tools. Do you need all those tools still? Are you still using all those tools? Fishing poles, There's a fishing pole.
But you haven't used it.
Apparently I don't have one anymore. So.
If you haven't used it in 20 years, do you really need that fishing pole? I have to ask that question. So I have this here, and I'll give those to y'all. And this is just kind of, it's just to give you thoughts. You know, maybe even your freezer. I don't know if anybody looks in their freezer.
Oh my gosh, freezers.
Yeah, freezers are
Just
really
brought back a childhood memory.
especially if it's a deep freeze.
Yes.
And
oh my gosh.
and maybe we used it a lot when we had kids running around or whatever it was. We used it a lot, and then as we get older, we may not use it as much.
Yeah,
So we may not think to go in there and look and see that there's something in there. It's been in there for, you know, I did have an aunt who had a turkey in her freezer for 2 years. I think a turkey. I think we need to throw that out. I don't think that's a good idea to keep a turkey. I know. So anyway, so this is. I'll give you all these. You may not need it. Please don't think you need to take anything.
Jesus, I was just about to ask if you had that as a handout.
I do. I've got one for you. Here you go. You can just pass those down.
There is more before and afters of pantries I've done and closets I've done too. If y'all,
It's on Lacey's
on the
website. If you want to
website,
see
yeah.
anything at all, I'll pass these down to you too.
Well, I think Beryl was a big wake-up call for refrigerators and freezers.
Yes.
And one of my girlfriends said she realized that
Any of
that
this?
she had a lot of clutter in the back of the shelves in the refrigerator.
oh yeah.
More of those. I don't have any.
Here we go.
I think a couple of these categories could use some subdividing.
They could. This is just a general.
Oh,
Yes. Yes, you're right. This is definitely just a general one.
So she decided that there was too much space in there,
Okay.
so she took a shelf out
Oh.
because she decided that too many things got lost.
Mm-hmm.
So she can see it better.
Yeah, she could
Oh,
see things
smart.
better. That's all she needed.
And
She
her
did-
freezer. This is a freezer or
It's a
fridge?
refrigerator, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She
That's a great idea. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, I do too.
There's no need to put stuff in because it's the law of attraction. And the law of attraction says if there's an empty space, it's our natural tendency to try to fill it. That that's a human nature thing. It's innate in us to try to fill that. So that's the law of attraction. If there's no space for her to put something, then that's very interesting. That is great. I like that. Any other questions anybody might have? Or this, I can go through this list real quick. How much time do we have, Justin? We're good. So, you know, these are just, again, we talked about a couple of things, and this says fridge and freezer. You know, think about that. Your cleaning supplies.
Oh, cleaning
Anybody
supplies.
have a bunch of cleaning
Yes.
supplies?
Lots of
People have
Windex
that.
bottles.
Windex.
Yeah,
You know,
but
three
it cures
different,
a lot. I think
three
it's
different bottles, and you,
Big Greek Family movie.
yes. All those things, closets and nightstands, all of those things are too. Shoes. I tell the story that I had a client who actually was a younger person and worked in the corporate world, and I don't know how she managed to accumulate, but she had 112 pair of shoes. She had a special shelf built all up at the top of her closet. They all went around there, and I thought there's no possible way you could ever wear all these shoes. That had to be something important to her somehow that she accumulated those shoes. But shoes would be a good thing. Medicine cabinet, which a lot of the houses built today, new construction houses don't have medicine cabinets. It's kind of interesting. They'll have there's a bathroom closet, you know, in there, so you can do things there, I guess, but they don't have medicine cabinets. Not like we used to.
Yeah, that's true.
I read an article years and years and years ago about archaeology and said, can you imagine someday when somebody comes and looks at all of our houses?
Gosh.
And they're going to say, I don't know what this was, but it was in the center of every house. And it had this mirror on it, and you could open it up, and it must have been something they worshipped. Nobody's going to know what it is because we don't have them anymore. But in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, 70s, every house had a medicine cabinet.
It's funny.
Anyway, you said makeup, under the beds. Anybody
Oh,
keep
under the
anything
beds.
under the bed? Toy box, desk drawers, all of those things. Paperwork, we know. Magazines. Does anybody keep magazines?
Yeah.
That's kind of a challenge.
Yeah, I do.
You do?
Yeah.
What kind of magazines do you keep?
Grassroots Motorsport, Motor Trend, Flying,
Oh, that's nice. So interesting.
Experimental Aircraft Association magazine.
Oh, that's good. How many do you have of each one? Do you know right now?
Let's say I've got a dozen.
Okay, well that's not
Yeah,
bad.
that's not
That's not bad at all. I'll take a dozen anyway. Is there something interesting in there that you kept because you want to keep that article?
Yes and no. I mean, some of them I just keep because I like it.
Oh, well there you go. See, that's okay. That's a good thing to do. DVDs, CDs, we don't really have those anymore.
Yeah, everything you can stream,
So,
you know.
but there was a gentleman in my neighborhood, or in our neighborhood, and he did pass away. And his family went in and he had 3,000 CDs. Literally. I mean,
wow.
literally.
CDs?
3,000. Not CDs.
DVDs?
What was the mixture? It was DVDs and
I've seen
CDs.
that kind of collection.
Pardon?
I've gone to estate sales and seen that kind of
Yeah,
collection.
that's a
wow.
good place that you
Yeah.
see them.
But I think it's a dying medium.
It
Yeah.
is. I
And,
mean,
so it will eventually just.
yeah. If anybody has them, DVDs, you can donate to senior living communities because they've all on all the different floors. They've got,
DVD players?
there'll be a TV and it'll have a DVD player. And so if someone wants to come and sit in a couple of chairs, it's not their big media room that
Yeah,
they
it's just
have.
small.
Then there'll be a collection of DVDs and people can go and just pop one in. And that's kind of nice
Easy
because
to-
I don't even know people have DVD players anymore. I don't know about that
Yeah.
either.
Well, I had an old
Yes.
reel-to-reel, and my son was horrified when I just gave it
We
to
got-
Goodwill.
Oh, no.
What do you do with reel to reel?
Yeah.
They don't even have a turntable
Yeah.
to record music. Garage, board games, handbags, and then your electronics. Electronics is really interesting. Anybody have cords? Like you have a bunch of cords for
Oh,
all
yeah.
your different electronics.
Yeah.
We have
I don't know what they
we've Rubbermaided ours, and we have them in a. But it's like this tall. I mean, it is just so. I've organized
Well,
them
you
so
got a
that
small
they're-
one now, didn't you?
That's right. It's a small one because we might. It's a just in case. Boy, this is a light bulb for me. This is just in case we might need that. But no,
Yeah.
we're not going to need that. I'm going to go through that.
Yeah, especially the
This
ones that we
weekend.
don't know what they are.
That's
or
right.
what
I'm gonna get
what
rid
they're
of that,
gonna
so.
be used for ever.
Exactly. We don't know. It's a just in case. I don't like just in
The
case.
linen closets too are big. There's a lot of times where there's just numerous sheets, fitted sheets, flat sheets of all colors, patterns, and it's like,
Yeah.
you know, honestly, at the end of the day, it's almost like you just need two sets. You need one that's on the bed, and then when you're done, you can wash and have another one. But just to have like, I've opened linen closets before, and it's just, I mean, blankets for days and sheets for days, and it's only one person. So it's like, you know,
I think it's
a lot.
People do. My mother had an obsession with linens.
Quilts?
With
Oh, linens, yeah.
because she was born in 1930.
Yeah.
She grew up in that depression, and she had a thing about linens. And at one point in time, she had 8 changes of sheets.
oh wow.
And that's just, but it was important to her. It made her feel,
Yeah, just in case.
yeah, just in case.
Just in case.
Just in
Yeah.
case I
I
can't
have
get
a lot
any
of
more.
company at one time. It's true.
Do y'all have any questions, anything at all that we can answer? Resources, anything like that? Because I
Was
do
it-
have some resources.
Yeah.
And,
Did you find it helpful, or did you get some extra information from this, or
no, not
maybe
really.
just a little bit of inspiration?
Yes.
I have this, I'll give you this, where I ask you for this. You don't have to give me any information. What I really want to know is, did you find this helpful? Because we have a lot of them coming up, a lot of other ones, but this is our only one we've been doing on the downsizing, decluttering, all of that. And so if you just let me know, and I like honesty, so let me know that it's just what you thought of it. And then it's got some other questions you don't have to worry about with those. Any information that I ever take, the only thing I use it for is to say, here's another seminar we're doing. And we're going to have some other ones. Let's see, the next one coming up is going to be reverse mortgages. Anybody know about those, reverse mortgages? Not much. They're kind of disturbing in so many ways. So
I think they are.
So this is not, we're not promoting them at all. So it's important, I think, for people to know, because I run into people who are in trouble because they've taken out a reverse mortgage. They can be beneficial, I want to make that clear, but in most cases that I see, it's a problem. So I want to make sure everybody understands them. I try to get that information out. But we have other topics too. Aging in the right place. What is that? And that's looking at senior living. What does that mean? And legal affairs, where we bring in estate and legal, and we bring in attorneys. And then home care. If you do need that, home care. That's what I push in my business, is helping people make sure they're in the right place for them, whatever that may be. And so if you are going to age in place and you want to be comfortable in your home, we're going to need resources, because we're all going to get older. So anyway, I'm going to change the name of this one, Understanding Dementia, because I just heard that people do a lot better if they go to something that says, let's talk about your brain. When you use the term dementia, people kind of get shy away from that. So we like to know what's it about. Scams, so that's going to be an interesting one. I probably will have a former retired FBI agent who will talk about that.
Cool.
And he's done my seminars before. And then driving after 80, that's really important. Paying for senior medical insurance, staying in control, and then living, dying, and leaving a legacy. If y'all ever have any questions, you see information there, my information's on here. You can reach out to me for any resource. If you just want to know something, it doesn't have to be anything related to anything else that I do. If you might say, I'm wondering if you know of someone who does X, whatever it is. And so if I don't, I'll tell you, and then I'll say maybe I can find someone, but I'm always happy to do that. And then this is just really great with Lacey's information. If you ever wanted to just see how someone could help you, then this is here. But we never sell anything in the libraries or promote anything. But if you need help anytime, you can always reach out to either of us and ask questions. So anything else? Any questions online? Nope. Everybody knows everything online, right? Okay. Remember, do it while you can, because if you don't, someone else will do it for you. And that is it. And that's our tips. Anybody have tips, suggestions? Do y'all have any you want to share? No? That's it. That's the end of us. So we're done.